discussion natin for, or rather live stream episode natin for this evening, because we have some major developments that just happened just in the last 24 hours that has gone everybody talking about the Miss Universe pageant. I am sure na lahat kayo may perspektibo dito sa bagong announcement ng Miss Universe organization. And before we jump into conclusions, that this is this is something that pakulo ni Hunan. Let's take a step back, because it is possible that the Miss Universe age requirement removal is not necessarily from Hunan herself. Okay, so we are going to discuss that step by step in a little bit later. Una muna tayong magkamustahan. We have several people already in the live stream. I know that this is not going to be a very hindi tayong marami ngayong evening na ito, because it's going to be it's actually out of the way na live stream natin. So I think this is going to be a more intimate na setting for our discussion dahil ilan lang tayong nandito ngayon. So the first one here is actually Family Reyes. Sabi niya, "Hi Miss Philippines," smiley face, heart smiley face. Solitaire Guy is here from the Marshall Islands. Hello, good evening from the Philippines, and I hope you're having a good day where in Marshall Islands, which I believe is either in the Pacific or in the Caribbean. Nawat Shak, welcome. Very interesting na name. Sabi niya, "Hello Universe, I'm Grand, one and only." Wahahaha. So let's also greet Mark Gonzalez. Sabi niya, "Good evening Sir Jason and ka-scripters. Ang init ng usapin ngayong gabi. We'll listen to the points that will be raised regarding the topics tonight." Okay, with regards to the topics tonight, we will be talking about the seemingly shocking, although it's really not shocking, or it's not even a surprise at all, but yung extremity nung announcement, I think that is going to be a very interesting topic that we are going to be discussing for this evening. Nawat Shak says, "Imagine an 18-year-old versus a 35 or 40-year-old. Physically, ang laki ng pagkakaiba. On top of that, the maturity and life experiences na meron ang mas matandang contestant, ang gulo-gulo, kaloka." Yun ang sabi ni Nawat. Nawat, I agree, although I also think that meron ding baraha yung mga mas bata na mga girls. And I will be discussing yung differences doon sa facial features. When you're starting or closer near to the 28-29 na age, nagkakaroon ng changes sa facial features ng mga babae. And I think yung younger na mga candidates, ang bentahe nila is yung youth, beauty, and vibrance. Ang bentahe ng mga older contestants, ng mga older women who is competing at pageants, is that they have the experience, they have the technical and life experience that they can bring into the table. Okay, so balik tayo sa kamustahan. Family Reyes, sabi niya, "Hi, good evening Lods." Good evening Family Reyes. I hope na na hindi masyadong maulan dyan sa inyo ngayon, dahil biglaan nagkaroon ng ambon kanina dito, and bigla rin nawala. Kaya ngayon medyo mainit yung pakiramdam, mainit yung yung surrounding na area dito sa amin. RM McCase, "Good evening Sir Jason. You think this dynamics in age requirement is viable and fair to the candidates?" I think that there are pros and cons, definitely. To say is it fair or not is still to be seen. Kasi I think that this is a very, I don't know, it feels like it is another pushback against the more traditional pageant fans. in the hopes that they can get more media mileage, maybe get more following from people from the Western world, because I think that is the market that they are chasing, and that's the market that is eroding currently for pageants, especially for Miss Universe. Okay, Daniel is bored. Sabi niya, hi Sir Jason. Hello Daniel, I hope you're not bored. Hindi ka magbo-bored dito sa usapin natin kasi aside from the fact that we'll be talking about the age limits of the Miss Universe pageant that is totally scrapped, we'll also be talking about the Andrea versus Angela na current issue. Chelsea, sabi niya, hello Mr. JC, do you think what is the intention? Inclusivity stretch still? I am thinking that it's not just inclusivity, but rather making sure that their market share or their share of the pie of the market and the audience gets bigger. I think that's the bigger and real issue here. I will explain that a little bit later. Where are we now? I think Daniel is bored, sabi niya. Sir Jason, pabati po si Eugene. Hello Eugene, I hope you're doing well wherever you are. Sabi niya, he's watching you now. Ayan, thank you Eugene. Eugene, if you're new here, if you're not yet subscribed, please do subscribe to our channel so that you get notified sa mga ganaps natin whenever we do live stream, whenever we have new episodes, new videos coming out. And also, please leave a thumbs up, a like on our live stream episode today. Edu S is here. Sabi niya, hi everyone. Kumusta na daw kayong lahat? It is understandable why these things are happening. And in the scheme of things, it is important to be inclusive. But, ... there is also an innate negative effect to democratization. Ayan. I think dito po mapasok yung sinasabi ni Katrina, ni Catriona, na everything is good but in moderation. Which I will expound further, especially when we're talking about standards versus inclusivity. I think I missed this comment from Chelsea. Sabi niya, by the way, I use CK1 white bottle, not a black one. It just so happened na kinakailangan ko lang na ubusin, and it's easier for me to remember kasi Edo S, na nakikita ko siya kaagad para araw ako siyang nagagamit para mas mabilis ko siyang maubos. That bottle has been with me for 5 years and hindi pa siya nauubos. I bought it at around 2016 or 2017 and ang tagal niyang maubos sa laki niya. And the only way kasi kung minsan na naaalala ko siyang gamitin is pag nilalabas ko siya from the box. And kapag hindi ko siya nilabas from the box, hindi ko siya nagagamit. So I need to finish that para maubos na and I can start, some of the bottles that has been given to me, yung Dior Sauvage at saka yung Chanel Blue, para maumpisahan na siya kasi you should not stock your perfumes for any longer, for too long a time kasi yung alcohol niya or yung chemical composition ng alcohol and yung what do you call this? Yung, oh God, I forgot the technical term. Basta yung alcohol and yung ingredients, for the lack of a better word, nagdi-decompose din. So nagbabago yung scent after parang 4 or 5 years. Yun ang sabi sa akin. Anyway, sabi ni saan na ba tayo? Mark Gonzalez, sabi niya na what shock sounds like Nouakchott, the capital of Mauritania. Witty name. Sabi naman ni Nawat, my cousin is Lorraine Itzara Grisel. Wahahaha. Okay, very interesting dynamic. Nakakatawa. Ayun, sabi ni Edo ES, store perfume for too long, magiging sarsa na yan. Joke. LOL. Sana naman hindi. Okay, so I think let's start with the conversation with are we in favor with the what do you call this? With the scrapping of age requirement. Okay, so I am going to post. I'm typing now. Okay. As I was saying, I will be posting on our poll for this live stream discussion. Yung do we agree with the removal of the Miss Universe age limits? Okay. Sandali lang. I'm just typing and then I will be posting on the live stream na chat box. Ayan. Kasi, I also want to, for you to have an avenue where you can engage if you don't want to comment. Me understanding ano yung naiisip, yung kuro-kuro nyo on this topic allows me to be able to get a feel of where we at. Okay? Okay, there. Let's start the poll. So it's still uploading. So there, it's already uploaded. So the question is, are we in agreement with the Miss Universe organization removing the age limits? Dalawa lang ang pagpipilian natin. It's a yes or no question. So by the end of the what do you call this? By the end of the live stream, I will be posting I will be discussing kung ano yung tawag ito, ano yung sa loobin nyo on this matter. Okay? So, on my end, do I agree with the removal of the age limits? The total scrap. I am somewhere in the more no, or rather more no than yes. I think that the better option should have been that they increase the age limits rather than totally removing it as from the requirements at all. And the reason for that, it's you're opening a can of worms, allowing people who are in their 50s, in their 60s to be able to participate. That the thing that I am worried about that is that, one, there are definitely several advantages, or there is a certain special treatment that should be given for senior citizens who are competing at pageants. Just as every senior citizen has, advantages with their senior citizen card here in the Philippines. So, let's imagine a pageant where you have a senior citizen as one of the contestants, and would you allow her to compete in the swimsuit competition? Imagine how would that look like, because there are people, or there are cultures that are very traditional and conservative when it comes to older people, exposing skin, or exposing more of their bodies to the public. So that is something that they have to consider. Does this also mean that if they allow swimsuit competitions, or they won't allow senior people to compete with in the pageant, will they remove the swimsuit competition because of that? Because the argument why a lot of pageant girls who want to retain the swimsuit competition in pageants is because this is where they can showcase their bodies, showcase the discipline that they put into their bodies, and this is an opportunity for them to show what is a healthy and fit body is. This is something that I think a lot of the people in the organization probably are just glossing over. I think that the intention of the Miss Universe organization is probably, you know, for better inclusion for women who still has that, you know, pageant fire within them, and they probably think that if there was no age limits, or the age limits is maybe up until 35 or 40 years old, they could still probably be able to join and compete with more resources, because at age 30 you probably have a better, you know, better financials, you probably have better life experiences, you probably have better, you know, access to different resources, pageant resources. And I think that is, you know, the advantage of people who are in their 30s, who have established careers, who have, you know, savings, who are more liquid, because they are, you know, they have already established their careers and are probably earning much better than someone who is a new grad, or who's just starting their career at, you know, the young age of 18 to mid 20s. So I think that is, you know, one of the things that that the organization probably is trying to sweep under the rug, or not, you know, not addressing, because I believe that the reason why that the Miss Universe have totally removed the age requirement is because they want to gather, or rather they want to get more slice of the market pie, who are no longer within the same interests of beauty pageants. So, in order for them na magkaroon ng additional na viewership, additional na mga followers perhaps, is to pander to the Western na what do you call this? Western na audiences. And when you pander with, you pander for, you know, these audiences. Sila kasi yung mga audiences na typically medyo iwas na sa pageants. They're the kind of audiences na hindi na ganun kalaki yung interest nila sa sa pageantry, because most of the Western world deem, you know, pageants as sexist, outdated, and all of that. Now, ano yung implications niya on the organization? Definitely, I see that if they pander to the Western world, the Western crowd, at nagkaroon ng interest yung mga American, yung mga European audiences, yung the rest of the Western world and developed countries with pageantry, mas malaki yung opportunities ng organization na ibenta yung brand nila and gain more national directors, gain more what do you call this, to have better financial relationships with them. Kasi ang mangyayari nito is there will be more people who are interested with pageants, and therefore there will be more people who are going to invest on pageantry. And I think kung susundan natin yung kung gaano karami yung countries sa Europe, the entire European bloc alone would equal to the number of countries participating from Asia and Africa, usually. And that is, you know, something that we've seen in the continental grouping in 2017 onwards, until it was scrapped. And isipin natin na kung sabihin natin nasa 31 to 35 yung candidates coming from Asia and Africa, and nasa 33 yung European contingent. So kung iisipin natin, kapag tumaas yung interest ng mga Europeans doon sa industriya ng pageantry, and they invest in that, pwedeng magkipaglaban yung mga national franchises na fees ng Europeans versus the ones in Latin America and Asia. So kung isipin natin na let's presume or assume that, let's say, the Philippines is paying around, let's say, 100,000 or 150,000 US dollars for the franchise fees. So imaginein mo if European countries are able to match that, kahit 10 lang sila doon sa Europe is able to match that number, malaking ano na yun, malaking increase na yon doon sa revenues ng Miss Universe organization. And a lot of the now looking at it now, I believe that a lot of the decisions of the Miss Universe organization could possibly be pandering to the Western na mga audiences, because they know that there is money there. That is why they're more inclusive with transgenders joining the pageant. They're more open for married women, pregnant women, single mothers, and wedded mothers to compete in the pageant, because there is a possibility na ang gusto nila is na-capture palalo yung mga audiences na ito, so that these countries would invest on the pageant itself. So imagine if sabihin natin karamihan ng mga European countries would range between 10,000 US dollars to 50,000 US dollars yung kanilang binabayaran for the franchise fees for Miss Universe. Isipin mo kung 10 doon sa 33 or 35 countries in Europe pumapantay doon sa 150,000 na tawag ito na franchise fees ng, let's say, Venezuela or ng Pilipinas or ng Thailand, then we now see, that this is possibly a money na this is probably money driven, aside from their inclusivity na dahilan. Okay, so I know that this sounds a little bit like pessimistic, or a little bit hindi siya nakakaganda ng image. The optics is not, hindi nakakaganda yung optics. But this is a possibility, and I think that if we're going to to be candid about it, we really have to remember that pageants, especially Miss Universe, is no longer the traditional pageants that we grew up in when we were young in the 80s or in the 90s, in the 2000s. We are looking at pageants now as an industry, as a money-making industry, and I think that is the reason why a lot of fans who were traditional fans are getting turned off with all of these decisions by the Miss Universe organization. On my end, I think that what could have been a better compromise between between pageant fans and the organization is to increase the age limits to maybe up until 35 to maybe around 45 years old for women to be able to participate in the Miss Universe pageant. However, since they have announced, officially announced on their social media feed, especially I think for those that are following the Miss Universe organization, una nila itong pinost sa kanilang, if I'm not mistaken, sa kanilang IG stories, and that is something na madalas nilang ginagamit na strategy so that it softens the blow when it comes to announcement. And this is also the reason why before they announce officially that Poppy Capella is no longer affiliated with them, they post on Instagram stories first. So I think that is one of the reasons why a lot of people were thinking na this might not be official, but actually it came from their official social media channels. Now, let's just backtrack a little bit kasi medyo maraming nag-comment. And meron ng mga nag-vote. So, okay, 14% says they agree with the removal of the age limits, but a whopping 86% so far is saying na no, they do not agree by a long shot doon sa decision ng Miss Universe organization to totally remove the age requirements. Okay, let me just give me a moment. Let me just scroll up for the comments. Because there are some interesting comments na nag-pop out. Okay, isa-isahin natin. Third Foreman says, I hope there's still an age limit. Sana 20 to 32 ang age requirements. I kinda agree that there should be like a base age and a ceiling age, just so that just so that it makes the Miss Universe title a little bit more precious or a little bit more valuable, because it's like, you know, that there is only a window of time where you can become Miss Universe, and you will treasure that opportunity or that time more, because you know that it is a fleeting time. Parang ano lang yan parang bulaklak lang yan the reason why we don't appreciate artificial flowers that much is because you know that they're there for until until you dispose of them. Unlike actual real flowers, bouquets that your loved one would give you, or your significant other would give you, you know that there is an expiration date for that flower before it wilts. So you appreciate it more. And I think that is the reason why for a lot of people, they think that the Miss Universe crown or the Miss Universe title is more valuable because there is a limitation, rather there is a limited time frame where you can be Miss Universe. I don't know if you get the drift, if you get my drift, or you understand the point of view that I am trying to illustrate. But I think that it would have been, for me, a better age requirement kung they have like 18 to 35 or 45, and then established a category for women who are 45 years old or 40 years old and older. I think that would have been a better step for the Miss Universe brand. And instead of having like a Miss Teen USA, a Miss USA, and a Miss Universe, why would not they do a Miss Teen Universe, Miss Universe, and a Senior Miss Universe, or Miss Universe Ageless, or something to that effect? So that way they can expand their brand as well. If they are able to expand their brand and have 3 different international pageants in their midst, they probably can earn more with their multiple na mga pageant na pwede silang magdagdag ng additional na mga national directors, ng mga additional mga franchise fees. So I think that would be something that they can think about. I know that some of you would say na, meron na kasing mga meron na kasing mga pageants na Mrs. Universe na pageant, Mrs. Teen Universe, Miss Teen Universe na pageant. So baka magkaroon ng problema on copyrights. And then I think dito dapat na nagpapakitang gilas yung legal ng Miss Universe na tawag ito na organization. Habulin yung mga organizations na to, because they're the ones who initially have the rights for the pageant titles. I don't know how accurate na pwede nilang habulin yung mga pageants na ito for copyright infringement, but kung nagawa nga nila na ipitin yung Miss World before, because there was a time where Miss USA, Miss World USA, hinabol ni Donald Trump yung copyrights ng USA na portion doon sa title. Parang siguro naman kaya nilang gawin din ito doon sa mga Teen Universe, Mrs. Universe na mga pageants. Okay? I think that is something na pwede nilang gawin. One of the possibilities that they can expand their brand. Okay, now what Shaq says, I feel like words inclusivity and diversity are very much abused by the MUO since the IMG era. Masyado nang pinipilit ang mga bagay na hindi naman dapat. I think on my end, rather than attacking the word inclusivity and diversity, I think they need to be able to explain yung extent nung inclusivity and diversity kineso nila. Because there is also such a thing as standards that if you're open for everyone, then your brand gets diluted because no brand can be something for everybody. The Miss Universe brand has gloss, has equity, has power because there is value in it. The problem with being open to everybody is that you become a little bit more like, I mean, do you remember yung linya ni Vilma Santos, I believe, na para kang karinderya na bukas para sa lahat? That is the difference between a Miss Universe that is that has standards versus a Miss Universe that is open for all. It is the difference between a 5-star Michelin restaurant versus a karinderya on the street. I know that the comparison is a little bit extreme, but but I want you to give a mental picture on branding. Na if you are open to everyone and you are a brand that is that has no particular target audience, then people will question what do you stand for. Because if you say that you are a brand that is inclusive and diverse, then you should be able to have a product that is aligned for each different age demographic. Hindi yung you only have one product, which is the Miss Universe title, the Miss Universe crown, and have it, forcibly fit for different age groups or different age market. Because women in their 50s have different requirements on what fits into their lives. Especially, this is also especially true for women who are in their teens, in their 20s, in their 30s, and their 40s. So would you have, a brand that is too inclusive that it has no, it becomes that it becomes diluted in terms of who, what, and where it is available? Or do you want to have a brand that has multiple products addressing different, age groups? That is where my mind is at the moment. Kasi kapag free for all, when you say free for all, yung brand mo, then there's brand anarchy there. And I think the Miss Universe is not thinking of it in that perspective, that hindi, let's just open the floodgates for everyone to come in. And then okay, so from the time that they opened, the transgender ruling in 2012 up until now, it has been how many years since it has been established, and yet we haven't seen any transgender woman win the Miss Universe pageant. We say that, Miss Universe is now more inclusive with different body types, but did we see or do we see a plus-size woman win Miss Universe? Ang ending din naman is payat, model-looking yung nananalo. So, where's the supposed to be diversity and inclusivity there? Do we see national pageants crown women who are disabled? Do we see national pageants crown, transgender women on a regular basis? Because so far, only Netherlands and Spain has done that, and even Spain was not able to, with Angela Ponce, was not even able to penetrate the semifinalists in 2018, despite the entire, semifinalist be around 16, if I'm not mistaken, 16 na spots. So, I think if Miss Universe really wants, all of this talk about inclusivity and diversity, be honest and real and tangible, then dapat nagkorona na sila ng plus size, ng disabled, ng what do you call this, ng transgender, bago sila nag-open up na naman ng panibagong removal of limits, age limits. So it kinda is, if we're looking at the numbers of people competing at their national level for the Miss Universe na mga national franchisees, to the international level, it feels like, based on the numbers, that there's only like 2 national winners so far of the transgender ruling na pwedeng sumali sa Miss Universe na competition. It feels like everything that Miss Universe is doing is a little bit on the performative advocacy na side. Meaning, optics lang, kumbaga, laway lang at walang nangyayari talaga na, what do you call this, na on the ground na winners. So it's like, bago kayo mag-open up ng ruling na ganito, sana man lang binigyan nyo ng oportunidad na let's find, you tell your national directors, find me a transgender woman who can represent the Miss Universe brand. And for sure, the national directors, magiging masigasig sila na maghanap ng requirement mo, ng hinihingi mo. So I think all of this talk about, being Miss Universe, being woke, being inclusive, being diverse, it becomes, or the optics of it becomes like it is only, lip service, because we don't see any real change. Yung nangyari kay Harnaz when she won Miss India, she was very thin when she was competing as Miss India. She gained a little bit weight when she competed in Miss Universe during her year. And then gain weight throughout her reign because of her celiac, I believe, na disease. However, did we see Miss Universe crown a plus-size woman in during Harnaz's year? No, because essentially they still crowned Harnaz when she was still, a very svelte na model actress. So I think, there is something that we need to question with the Miss Universe organization's intention on this, because it kind of feels like they're only doing this for the clicks, or it kind of feels like they're only doing this so that people will get to talk about them. Now, there is a question here na, or rather, there is a common denominator that I see in, whether it's in Facebook or Instagram, that karamihan ng mga fans ang sinisisi si Kun An. On my end, I don't think that it's Kun An's decision alone. I think that kinakailangan din natin sisihin, or kinakailangan din natin silipin si Amy Emmerich and si Paula Shugart, because Kun An was not present when they instituted the mothers and pregnant women being allowed to compete, much like in 2012 na inallowed yung transgender na ruling. So maybe it's not Kun An, maybe it's the Miss Universe organization's president and CEO who are making these decisions for the brand. Okay? Tandaan ninyo, hindi ganun ka, you should look at Amy and Paula because they're the ones who are officially running the organization. And they are probably the ones in the leadership who can really make effect change in the organization itself. Tandaan ninyo, LGBTQ member, part ng community ng LGBTQ community si Amy Emmerich. So I am thinking na she is more likely the one who has, may kamay dito sa mga desisyon na ito ng Miss Universe organization. Okay? So, let's go back to the comments. Sabi ni Drake, baka gusto lang sumali ni Kun An. Again, as I said, pwedeng hindi si Kun An ang may directive nito. So, wag nating ibuntun lahat ng sisi sa kanya. Okay, R.M. McCase says, any mature woman that will be able to join the Miss Universe or the Miss Universe will be exposed to bashers who will pick on her looks and weight. Kawawa yung candidate, especially kung matatanda yung mga candidates. Imagine if you are a 40-year-old woman or a 50-year-old woman competing at Miss Universe who would take no bullshit from anybody else, and you fight back. Oh my God, you know naman how vicious the pageant fan can be, the pageant fans can be. So, kawawa ka. And not all women in their 50s or 40s have learned to just brush it off on the side if they have, or they see, these terrible comments. I think Miss Universe more than ever is more of an influencer now rather than a traditional na beauty queen. So you gotta have your social media platforms because you have to have a platform where you can talk about things that matter to you, because definitely hindi naman pwedeng ikaw lang ang parating laman ng Miss Universe na Instagram and Facebook na feed. And you cannot rely on the social media team to create content for you throughout the entirety of your reign. So you also need to participate and do your work as an influencer, because that is essentially one of the parts of the job requirements of being a beauty queen nowadays. Okay, June says, good evening, Sir Jason. It appears Kun An paved the way for her to join Miss Universe. Again, as I said, I don't think na si Kun An ang may pakana nito. Chelsea, sabi niya, who is giving advice to JKN anyway? Parang hindi masyadong pinag-isipan. May binabagayan kasi ang pageantry. Ibigay natin sa mga bata, banat at may acid. Big no po, bow. Sabi ni June, sayang wala na si Miriam Defensor Santiago. Noel Reyes, sabi niya, it's clearly a business ploy. Thank God someone agrees with me, because on my end, I really think that if I'm going to look at this from a perspective, from an outside perspective, parang mas nakikita ko yung business advantages rather than this. Okay, sorry about that. As I was saying, all of these age restrictions on marriage, it's probably all because of financial and business related na reasons. Okay? Nasa na ba tayo? Let's check on the poll. Kasi right now, overwhelming 90% of you guys do not agree with the removal of the age limit. Okay? So, let's continue with the comments. We have Drake. Sabi niya, I still can't believe that the likes of Madam Paula Sugar's mind would agree to this. June says, I watched from an interview na Maureen Montaigne plans to join another pageant if they adjust the age limit. Sabi ni Cine Archives. Oh, okay, sorry about that. I think I scrolled too fast. Okay, sabi ni Cine Archives, Dear Sir Jason from Thailand and fans, as I am disappointed about this decision. Cine Archives, you're not alone. I think that there are a lot of people who are not surprised, but rather disappointed with this decision. And I think that the best thing that we can do is to support the pageant, but still dialogue with them that we feel that the removal of the age requirements opens a can of worms for the organization. And we rather would have an extension of the age limits. It's not as radical as the removal of the age limits, but it is also very compassionate. It's also the age limits to a certain age, maybe around 45 years old or around 35 years old, depending on what their demographic, what demographic are they chasing. And I think that if the Miss Universe organization is based in Asia and it's moved, I think that more conservative pageant fans would have their chances for their voices to be heard because of very Western, very pandering to the Western audiences that the current Miss Universe organization is doing. I do agree that some of the decisions of the Miss Universe organization, especially the Western leadership, are a little bit too extreme for an industry that is majority is still conservative or traditional in that sense. Okay? Omorphia says, Hello, Sir Jason. Miss Universe is getting lost in the sands of time. Miss Universe is no longer the cultured Miss Universe na pariwara na. LOL. I really don't agree. Kaloka. Omorphia, you're not alone in that sentiment. I also think that there is a limit to how or it will swing back to the right. So if for those who study geopolitics, the very lax, very loose na tawag ito na 90 gave birth to the very conservative Nixon era conservative 80s and 90s. So I think there is something that we can expect from that it could happen to Miss Universe in the next 5-10 years. Okay? June says, with the removal of age limits, they should abolish Miss Teen USA. I kind of agree because right now, Miss Teen USA is only a pageant that really doesn't do anything for the brand, honestly. Especially now that the Miss Universe brand is Asian owned, Thai owned. So I don't think that there is a need for the Miss Teen USA because for the longest time, they're no longer televised on national television. I think the last time that they were televised was around 2000s, the year 2000s. So the only reason why it's there, it's because of nostalgia. But honestly, I don't see it adding more to the Miss Universe brand. I don't see it I honestly don't see it leveling up or raising up the bar for the Miss Universe brand. I think what the Miss Universe can do is rebrand the USA pageants because honestly it's that they have like the Miss USA pretty much similar to the system with the Miss Venezuela, with the Miss Universe Colombia, with the Miss Universe Canada, with the Miss Universe Philippines, where it is a separate organization from the parent Miss Universe organization. I think that would be, much likely the better brand is have their own teen pageant, to have their own Mrs. pageant, to have they really should have they should really just leave the teen pageant with the Miss USA franchisee, and not be involved in how that pageant is Oliver Goyal Ebriega qualify, should see who's best. Again, I kind of agree. Pretty much like the Olympics, where there is a division for, let's say, style and activity in the Universe brand. That way, they can have 3 Universe title holders that represents different markets, rather than you just have one that represents all markets, because usually you can see in the next 10 years that it is most likely that those who are in their 20s would probably be the one who is going to win majority of the title. It's a good thing that you mentioned, Alan, about that on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. Pageant girl that you want to join Miss Universe again. They don't allow the Miss Universe pageant. I'm not sure if that rule also follows for those ladies who are allowed to win national title and then cross over to win another national title and then compete at Miss Universe. So I don't know what's their ruling on that. But honestly, this is something that I think is a little bit not communicated, or rather this is a little bit unsure for a lot of pageant fans, that or rather unaware that there is a certain rule that you cannot compete at Miss Universe the internet again. And this is also the reason why Natasha Joubert, who competed in Miss Universe when she was Miss South Africa, second runner-up in 2020, was it 2020? Nakahabol ako. Salamat naman, nakahabol ka, Michael Cordovez. Sabi niya, feel ko ito na yung start ng downfall ng Miss U. I think we've been telling that since they instituted the transgender ruling in 2012, since they allowed mothers to compete at Miss Universe last, as announced earlier this year. When they removed the height requirements sometime around 2017 or 2018, if I'm not mistaken, when they removed, I think lahat tayo at some point nabanggit na this is the downfall of the Miss Universe organization or the Miss Universe brand. JB says, I can't imagine na may sasali sa yon. Then we have a comment here from Chelsea. For those who were here a little bit earlier, at nabanggit ko yung what do you call this? Yung dialogue ni Vilma Santos. Sabi niya, to complete the dialogue on, okay, JB, sabi niya, pero depende pa rin ba sa national franchise owner kung tatanggap sila ng above 30 years old? Okay, here's the thing. Na lumabas, was it last week or early? No, I think it was last week, na nakuha daw ng TPN Global yung Miss Charm International na franchise. And some people were asking me na, so paano yun, sir? Magkakaroon ba ng allowed ba na magkaroon ng multiple titles doon sa pageant ni Kun An, when she explicitly said that if it's Miss Universe, it's Miss Universe. She doesn't want, other pageants being crossed over to her pageant. That is something that I cannot answer at this point in time, because negotiation from the national director side with the Miss Universe organization side that they should be allowed to select other representatives of other pageant systems from their existing na Miss Universe na mga candidate, Miss Universe, in national candidates. Because we've seen naman that during the announcement of the Miss Reina Hispano-Americana and several other international competitions. However, if I'm going to look at the way how they did the announcement, they didn't exactly crown them during the during the competition. I don't see that there, you can see na mayroon silang sash, meron silang sariling crown, literally saying that they are the Miss International Mexico or whatnot. So, baka pwedeng nakalusot sila in that manner. Okay? Dansky09, sabi niya, greatest downfall of MUO in the hands of the baka maban naman tayo kapag pag binasa ko yung buong mong comment. Darwin Cruz, sabi niya, there's a reason why they remove the age limit. But that doesn't mean na agad-agad na may magko-compete na may edad na. It depends pa rin sa national pageant kung ipapanalo nila. So, again, if that's the case, then why institute it in the first place kung depende pa rin naman sa gusto ng national pageant? Edu ES says, these things have been happening in the art world for some time now. Quality goes down when the standards are not applied. When voices of the loudest are listened to instead of the most knowledgeable. I think that they're pandering to a market. Pageants are relevant. Pageants are, they think that pageants are understanding, perhaps, or a more thorough research on this, so that they don't alienate their current na market. Because right now, honestly, I feel that the Miss Universe is only hanging on to the gloss of their name. But to be honest, I think that other pageant systems offer something better in terms of relevance. Because if you want entertainment, then you have supranational, you have grand international. If you want, advocacy, charity, then you have Miss World and Miss Earth. If you want relevance, then there's no other pageant that is more relevant than the Miss Earth pageant system. So I think fans should, that Miss Universe is no longer the end all be all, or what you call this, for charity work, what they do for traditional na mga values. So I think that, that travels than the Miss World winners travel more frequently to more countries than the Miss Universe winner. And we cannot necessarily, qualify that, because Miss Universe has already done a lot of things for all four alpha winners in terms of travels. in terms of charity work and travels. In fact, I think that at this point in time, Miss International, Jasmine Selbert, has, so, kung totoo sa inyo, mas marami pa siyang travel kaysa kay Arbony. And some, pageant fans ng Miss Universe would criticize na, but, Jasmine at one for personal travels. However, some of you are not thinking that some of those travels na nag-tren, nag-bus, nag-car ride lang si Jasmine, there are official Miss International business siyang ginawa. And some of those are not public. Some of those are ceremonial. However, these are still considered, official na travels. Because when Jasmine Selbert were around 10 countries at that point in time. However, the official na official na travels 7 or 8, that was the ones na meron siyang public na appearance, kumbaga public na how to say this, these are the official, these are the official travels niya na may ginawa siya in behalf of Miss International organization. So I think, at that point in time, si Arbony and Mina were around 4 or 5 each. So ganun kalaki yung difference ng viewership, laki ng travels nung 4 na alpha winners. Okay, nasa na ba 'yan? Okay, it doesn't mean na ipapanalo nila. I don't think na ready na sila agad-agad na mag-crown base sa inclusivity. Okay, Travel Junkie says, hello sir, nakahabol. Pwede sumali lola ko sa Miss Universe. Tapos, green na emoji. Dansky09, I like the term, parang karindirin. How pathetic. Okay, so, let's jump doon sa comment ni Darwin ulit. Sabi niya, what can you say sa Voice for Change video contest? Are they gonna base it sa ganung advocacy ng mga sinasabi nila sa video? I think that it sila in terms of, their advocacy. Kasi kung lip service lang na sasabihin mo, no, I advocate for this kind of mental disability kasi I have one in my family who's suffering, makitang pruweba, I think that counts as one of those things that they are going to look up in terms of background checking. And another thing is, I think that solusyonan muna nila yung impact wave na hindi nila naibigay yung premyo. I believe that was in when the recipient was in oh God, I forgot the country. I think this was in Miss Universe in Eilat, the edition where Harnaz of India won. The what do you call this? The winner of the impact. This is okay. So as I was saying, I'm sorry about tawag nito bago nila about this voice of verse Kineso that they are promoting data and girls who previously joined one place at on her age. So, as I said earlier, this is more about maintaining a standard, maintaining what do you call this? I forgot that word again. It's not just age ang tinitignan. I think there's a need for us to evaluate if do we open up the pageant because of inclusivity or diversity, or is the pageant actually doing this for clout, because of business decisions, because of financial opportunities later on. So it's not just about influence based on age. I think it's more than that. I think it's good that they are expanding, the age limits. Pero I think what are they gonna gain from doing so? So I think that is the question there. It's not that they are opening up, they are being more woke, they are being more inclusive, but rather, okay, Chelsea, sabi niya, may 2 cents lang po. Okay, nawala yung kanyang comment. Nasa na yung comment ni Chelsea? Okay, knowing the owner na pabibo at pabida, she has the final say po siya sa wisdom niya. She gets a lot of push and suggestions, but she decides finally. Okay, hindi yung walang limit. So, kahit lola ka na, pwede ka pang sumali. Actually, technically, even if you're an inch from death, if you can still compete, then you're still empowered women narrative. Ads. Okay? Tagaping ads. Okay? Tagaping. Darwin Cruz, do you think in the near future they will remove the swimsuit competition? Because it doesn't make sense now that Miss Universe is looking at, is going towards to. I think hindi na lalayo. I don't think that it is far. It's a far off possibility that maybe in the next 10 years they might be removing the swimsuit competition, because of course if a, let's say, 45-year-old who already had 3 kids is going to compete at Miss Universe, then how can she be judged fairly based on aesthetics that is subjective, based on standards of beauty that is very subjective to the judges? How can she compete with an 18-year-old who has, almost zero body fat in her body? So, yeah, I do think that maybe in the next 10 years, within the context of 10 to 15 years, the swimsuit competition could be removed. Where are we? I think Cine Archive says no, as I haven't much to do with how some major pageants and reigning queen ng Miss Universe, ibig sabihin ay tuloy pa rin ang reign niya. Yes, Jam. Essentially, if Miss Universe gets pregnant, becomes pregnant, she will still continue her reign. Win or lose, the other side, another year of splurge gastos from training to gowns and rentals. Again, I think the conversation on how much they're willing to spend, how much they're willing to invest on that will depend on their financial situation. That will depend on their life stage at that point in time, whether or not they still see pageants as a good investment for their career. Okay, where were we? Allen Edward Kamungao. Okay, sabi niya, senior citizens may join now. My heart goes to them because they're the most vulnerable. A 15-year-old has the stamina, and with proper exercise and healthy living, they can live with it. Kapunka, Chos. Can be debated in terms of kaya pa ba nila mag-swimsuit competition or what or whatever. I think the thing that I want. Okay, so where were we? I think there's a comment ni ano ni oh my god, I hate this. Ever since the start. Okay, this really sucks, honestly. I know some of you have been complaining about the internet in some of the comments, so I really apologize for that. Anyway, I am trying to let me just fast track this comments because right now I'm having difficulty accessing the comments. So let me just go now to one of the points that I want to discuss a little bit earlier on with regards to Angela Ponce and Andrea de las Heras, because I think this is one of those nagsanga-sanga na conversation that I think Andrea was trying to point out something, and then about the Miss Universe na tawag nito, Miss Universe na competition that she had where she competed against Angela, where she felt that she probably didn't like the fact that she was competing with a transgender or trans woman in the competition. And there was, of course, a clapback from Angela Ponce, which is very understandable if we're going to, if we're going to be how to say this, if we're going to be honest about that. Now, I think that yung punot dulo ng tawag ito, ng away na yon, yung punot dulo ng what do you call this, ng kanilang how to say this, kanilang hidwaan nung altercation is because the Miss Universe is moving too fast, that they're not being very mindful of how it would affect the mental state of their candidates, of the women who are competing at the national level, at the international level. I think that because these women, these candidates would want the opportunity to represent their country in an international competition, they would blindly agree even with any of the rules that the Miss Universe organization or any pageant organization would impose just to have that opportunity to represent their country on stage. I think ito yung isa sa mga pagkakataon where I believe that Andrea was not, was not happy with the ruling, but because she was already competing in Miss Universe Spain at that point, I think parang wala siyang choice but to accept that that transgender women can now compete at Miss Universe. So despite the fact that she probably does not agree with that, she had to, parang kinakailangan niyang lulukin yung ano niya, yung what do you call this, yung kanyang personal na feelings with regards to that. Dahil the only other alternative is that she doesn't get to to participate or to compete at Miss Universe. So I think yung punot dulo nito is essentially nakatali yung punot dulo ng kanilang away is essentially nakatali doon sa desisyon ng organization that they probably haven't they probably didn't do a very extensive research doon sa mga taong sumasali sa mga pageants, sa mga women, sa mga pageant girls na sumasali ng mga pageants, on their thoughts and opinions with regards to this. I think this was a trickle down na decision and not a decision that is essentially from the ground up. I think that they really needed to be more sensitive doon sa mga kuro-kuro, mga differences in opinion ng bawat bawat pageant girl na gustong sumali sa tawag ito sa Miss Universe. Ultimately, I think that the Miss Universe organization is a little out of touch in terms of the pageants and the pageant fans and the pageant girls, thoughts and feelings about their very drastic na mga decisions lately. And I think it is also very unfair that ibuntun natin ito lahat kay Kun-an, because I don't think that that sa kanya nanggaling yung mga idea na ito. I think ang mga idea na ito nanggaling mismo sa pamunuan ni Paula Sugart at Amy Emmerich. But of course, being the owner of the pageant, she has the right and the power to veto this, decisions. But sumang-ayon na lang siya doon sa kung ano man yung, yung naging desisyon ng Miss Universe na management. So, I think there is something about this decision that rubs people off right after, the removal, the accepting of pregnant women, the accepting of transgendered women to the pageant, the acceptance of married women to this pageant. I don't think that timing is an issue. I don't think that the intention is the issue. But I think ang may issue dyan is the reasoning. Sana hindi nila itago na these are born out of business decisions on financial decisions rather than this is born out of altruism. I don't think hindi sa tingin ko hindi ganoon eh. Sa tingin ko bukod sa gusto nila na magmukha silang very relevant, very woke, very progressive, I think ang pinakapulot-dulo talaga nito is may financials na involved sa pagbuo ng desisyon. I don't think na itong desisyon na ito was very lightly, very easy for them because it was the moral thing to do. I think dahilan na lang yon. I think ultimately, from my perspective, the reason why they're doing this is because may mga financial reasons behind they're doing this. Okay? Let me just finish up yung ating mga comments before we finish our discussion. Wait, where are we na sa comments? I think Mark Gonzalez clarifies that Impact Award in 2021 was Lenka Nemer of Bolivia. I do hope na sana after how many years, naibigay din sa kanya yung 10,000 na US dollars na cash prize para doon sa kanyang chosen na charity. Darwin Cruz, who do you think will bag the crown this year? Who's your top 5 at the moment? Right now, I would really think that the flag bearers, of course, lahat kayo pagod na sa kakasabi ko about who are the flag bearers of Asia, of Americas, and of Europe. We've discussed that lengthily in another live stream nitong nakarang Sabado. So please go check that out instead kasi I don't think na nagbago ng drastically yung kung sino yung mga mainit na mga pangalan for the competition. So right now, I still think that for Africa and Asia, it's still Antonia Porcil, it's still India's Sweta Shardha, and South Africa's Brioni Govender. For Europe, I have Spain's Atenea Perez, Ricky Collier of the Netherlands, and Diane Leira of France. Pagdating sa Latin America, dito tayo nagkakatalo because I still think that this is a wide berth in terms of possible flag bearers because you have Nicaragua, you have Puerto Rico, you have Peru, You have still Colombia. Venezuela is definitely still a shoe-in for the semis. I think Diana Silva is starting to get more, I don't know, yung styling niya, unti-unting nag-i-improve as the weeks go by, as the days go by. I think yung latest her latest appearance during the unveiling of the Miss Venezuela candidates, I think her gown na pink with her very soft na curls was one of her best styling so far. Hindi siya mukhang matanda. So, I think nag-i-improve siya. And then, of course, we still have Mexico. We still have Dominican Republic in the conversation on the flag bearers of the Americas. And we're still waiting for who are they gonna crown for Miss USA. So I am sure dadagdag pa yan dun sa mga pwedeng possibilities to win Miss Universe this year. Wait, nasaan tayo? Jam Amihan, is the announcement a strategy para i-divert ang attention natin sa current financial issue ng JKN Global? I agree. I think so, yes. However, hindi naman porke nag-announce sila ng ganito basta-basta, we will forget the JKN Global issue on their finances. We still have until the end of this month and next month to learn if JKN is able to pay off their bond debts. John Snow 79, sabi niya, regarding Angela incident, sinong mag-a-adjust? Yung org or yung candidate? Ilang years nang nakalipas nung pinatupad yung decision to accept trans to join. Naging issue na yun sa Canada years before 2018. We could always speculate, but hindi magsasalita ang org. I just found that Miss Supranational, actually they also made the decision lately that they would allow transgender in their pageant. It's up to the girls to choose what pageant to join. I really don't understand the hate regarding age. Jon Snow continues saying, Miss Universe is about inclusion and acceptance. Sino bang ayaw nun? Again, sinong mag-a-adjust? Org pa. I get your, I really get where you're coming from, Jon Snow. I also get yung reasoning ng the people on the other side of the argument. Ultimately, for Miss Universe, I believe that there still should be standards that needs to be upheld. Especially if these standards is going to be the standards in selecting a winner. Dahil within the how many years na pinatupad itong mga bagong rules ng Miss Universe, we still haven't seen a transgender winner, we still haven't seen a plus size winner, we still haven't seen a Miss Universe winner in the past 5-10 years who is below 5'3", 5'2" in height. We haven't seen, winners that are, what do you call this? That are transgender women. So I think ultimately, if we're going to be selecting, if the Miss Universe organization is essentially going to be selecting, selecting winners by their own standards na kinakailangan payat, kinakailangan maganda, then it will only, these new rules, this new changing of rules will only be performative. Yun naman yung point ko. It is much better that you are unapologetic on who you are or who you are not as a pageant, rather than you say that you're for inclusivity and yet the results of the pageant still speaks that you're not, that you're still favoring the tall, thin, beautiful, facially gorgeous girls over those girls who are short, transgender. I think yung end ng poll natin with with votes coming in that 82% of you guys are not yet, are not yet on board with, the removing of the age limits. I think karamihan sa atin yung nararamdaman na the Miss Universe is changing too fast, and napag-iwanan yung mga traditional, yung mga conservative na mga pageant fans. And I think if Miss Universe wants to be inclusive, then they should also take into consideration the voices, the opinions of the conservative pageant na tawag ito, na mga fans, so that if you say inclusive, you are not only so there. I think, this issue about ageism, about inclusivity, about diversity will not necessarily be a conversation live stream. I think that we are to keep on hashing it out. We're still be talking about this for the longest time, until we come to the point where we all come to an agreement as a pageant community that there is a point where we can agree to disagree, or we can convince each other of our points of view, and leave the conversation with with an understanding of each other's perspective, but still be true to your truth, be true to your opinions, to yourselves about what you value. Pwede naman na lahat tayo, we disagree with the with the rules na mga binago, mga limitations na tinanggal. But ultimately, I think the best way to move forward is to respect each other's decision. Tama yung sinabi ni Jon Snow na it's the org's decision. The question, however, whether are we still going to patronize the organization when their values is no longer a reflection of our values, we also should, learn how to shift, how to pivot. Because ultimately, if there is a brand or a pageant brand that you are not in alignment with the values that you have, your personal values, then there are other pageants that would probably be more in alignment to who you are as a person. So what I am advocating here is that if Miss Universe is the pageant, if the Miss Universe pageant, is no longer working for you, then there are other pageant systems where you can find your community, where you can find peace, when you can have you can find camaraderie with like-minded people. You still have Miss Earth, you still have Miss International, you still have Miss World, you have Miss Supranational. If you want Miss Grand, then go for it. If you want Miss Intercontinental, Miss Globe, there are a lot of other pageant systems where you can find your tribe. That's what I'm saying. It's not, I think, if we're going to end yung conversation natin, it's about realizing that maybe the Miss Universe is no longer the pageant that serves you, your particular taste, or you as a person, because it no longer reflects your personal values. If that is the case, it's dalawa lang naman yung decision mo yan eh. It's either cool off ka muna until you find a space where you are able to accept these new changes, because ultimately Miss Universe, I understand that the Miss Universe organization needs to make these changes, because honestly they are still in essence an American brand. Once siguro na nalipat na yung kabuuan ng leadership ng Miss Universe organization to Bangkok, where in Asia we are a little bit more conservative when it comes to our points of view on pageantry, baka doon tayo magkakaroon ng mga additional na mga changes kung paano pinapalakad yung organization. I am sure that within the next 5 years, kung sino ang mga nasa pamunuan, the people who are running the Miss Universe organization is going to be changed. Hindi forever na nandyan si Amy Emmerich, hindi forever na nandyan si Miss Paula Shugart, hindi forever na nandyan yung mga yung mga directors who are in charge of the Miss Universe organization, because we've seen, Carlo Capetillo, I believe, that's his name, leave the franchise directorship. We have just recently si Mama Esther na umalis sa sa Miss Universe organization after being there for like 20 years. Kumbaga, may sarili na siyang pillar doon sa meron na siyang sariling pundasyon doon sa building ng Miss Universe. So change is something that we need to learn to accept gracefully. Even if we don't agree with it, I personally do not agree to the removal of the age limits. I probably, would be more accepting if nag-increase na lang sila ng ng ceiling ages for Miss Universe. But I also understand that kinakailangan gawin yon. That the Miss Universe organization need that to survive. This is essential to their survival as a brand. And perhaps, this is something that they really want to do to expand their viewership, to expand their following. And if it might cost, some pageant fans along the way, maybe they are willing to take that risk. Change is inevitable, and especially with an organization like the Miss Universe organization being in a volatile situation where, organizations who have handled it, whether it's the, if I'm not mistaken, the ICC, bago nila ibinenta ito doon kay Donald Trump, bago siya ibinenta ni Donald Trump to IMG, bago binenta ng IMG to Kun An. We kind of need to take or rather be realistic na this is a business na patalo parate yung ending. Kumbaga, you might have a few good years at the beginning, but ultimately, in the long run, yung commercial viability ng organization is not going to be all on the up and up. And I think if this is something that the Miss Universe organization thinks that they need to do to survive, to earn money, to keep the business afloat, then we have to be a little bit more understanding of that. Kasi wala nang libre sa panahon ngayon. Lahat tayo usong kumita. And the Miss Universe, as I said, is no longer the traditional pageant that we known and grew up with, but rather the Miss Universe organization is now a business. Okay? Huling comment here. Sabi ni June, basta ako, MU has evolved since it first began in 1952, and it will continue to evolve. It's up to us if we still want to evolve with it or not. Dorothy V. Jones, last comment here, sabi niya, I believe it will be more interesting competition with more types of women included and allowed to challenge norms of beauty and concepts of women's strengths. So there. Thank you very much for everyone who have been with us, especially for this special na discussion on the age requirements of the Miss Universe organization. I think that, I have to apologize first because of the internet interruptions. I am at Cubao, where Araneta is, the Araneta Coliseum is there, and I am using Smart Araneta na telecommunications for our live stream. And this year, really, this March, it has been a challenge, quite a challenge with smart na internet connection. So I will be looking at other possibilities in the next several months. I will try to test other networks, what works here. Kasi syempre nasa Araneta tayo na area, so I was thinking na dahil nasa ganito tayo in an area, the smart signal would be strong. Last year, hindi naman tayo nagkaroon ng ganitong kalaking problema on the internet connections. Ngayong taon lang tayo nagkaroon ng ganito. So, I don't know, maybe in the next na live stream natin, I will try to do, other I will try to tap on other networks just to test yung connectivity, and kung we find one that works for us, yun yung gagamitin natin moving forward. Okay? Thank you very much for everyone who joined in our live stream. May pahabol na comment dito si Gabriel P. Sabi niya, Miss Universe is smart in removing these barriers. At the end of the day, it's still up to the local pageants to select their winners. So, hindi pa huli naman ang lahat. As long as our national pageants stay true to the standards that they have for their competitions, then I don't think na magkakaroon tayo ng issue on, what do you call this, issue on the Miss Universe changing too much. Okay? So, thank you very much for everyone who has been patient with us here. Please a thumbs up dun sa ating live stream na tawag ito, sa live stream ngayon, so that for those na manonood later ng tawag ito, ng replay, they will be able to find this live stream. Okay? Thank you very much and hope to see you in our live stream this coming Saturday, at meron pa tayong ibang mga pag-uusapan na mga pageant updates. Thank you very much and see you again soon. Bye everyone. Take care.